Welcome, sleepy traveler. You've arrived at a quiet space made just for you. My name is Valarie, and I am here to guide you gently into rest, to help ease your mind, soften your body, and drift you toward a peaceful, uninterrupted sleep. Whether your day was long or your thoughts feel a little too loud tonight, let this be your permission to slow down, to breathe, and to simply be. There's nothing more to do now. Just allow my voice to be your guide as we begin this gentle journey toward deep, nourishing rest. If you're new here, subscribe for sleep content like this, and like this video if you find it enjoyable. Let's begin. Take a slow, gentle breath in and let it out with a soft sigh. Feel the weight of the day begin to loosen. Everything you have carried, every thought and every little tension can slowly begin to drift away. There is nothing you need to hold on to right now. You are safe in this moment. This is your time, a soft corner of the day that belongs only to you. A place where the world grows quiet and your body can finally rest. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Each breath arriving, each breath leaving like the calm rhythm of ocean waves. Your mind may wander, and that is perfectly okay. Every thought that appears can drift away like a small cloud in the open sky. There is no need to chase it, no need to hold it. The sky of your mind is wide and endless, and your thoughts are just passing travelers. Feel your shoulders softening. They may have been carrying the weight of your day, but now they can release it. Imagine that weight sliding gently down your arms and out through your fingertips. Your arms are heavy and warm. Your hands resting easily, as if they are melting into the surface beneath you. Bring your awareness to your jaw. Let your tongue relax and your lips soften. Even your cheeks can grow slack and calm. There is nothing you need to say, nothing you need to do. You are allowed to simply be. Now focus on your eyes. Even if they are closed, imagine a soft warmth spreading around them. across your forehead, down into your temples, every muscle of your face easing into rest. Take another slow, gentle breath and let it out, longer this time. Feel how your chest rises like a soft balloon filling with air. And then deflates with a gentle sigh. Each breath is a wave of calm moving through you. Now imagine a soft golden light above you. It is warm but gentle, like sunlight filtered through morning mist. It begins to drift down, touching the crown of your head. And as it touches you, it brings a deep feeling of relaxation. Like every cell is sighing with relief. The golden light moves slowly down your body, over your forehead, soothing away any lingering tension. Over your cheeks, leaving them soft and peaceful. Down to your neck and shoulders, melting away the last bits of tightness. Your arms grow heavier as the light travels to your hands and fingertips. With each breath, this light continues its gentle journey. Over your chest, bringing warmth and comfort to your heart. Over your ribs, your belly, and your lower back. Every part of you is being bathed in safety and calm. Your body feels soft, heavy, and deeply at ease. The golden light moves to your hips, your thighs. Your legs sinking a little deeper into rest. Your knees, your calves, and down to your ankles. Finally, the light reaches the very tips of your toes. You are glowing gently in warmth and tranquility. Take a moment to simply feel this. The complete stillness of your body. The soft rhythm of your breath. The gentle weight of calm settling over you like a blanket. Now, in your mind, imagine that you are lying on soft grass under a twilight sky. The air is cool and comforting, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers. Somewhere in the distance, you can hear a small stream trickling over smooth stones. The world is quiet here, safe and endlessly peaceful. You gaze up at the sky above you. It is a deep, velvety blue with the first stars beginning to appear. Each star twinkles gently as if it is greeting you. One by one, more stars appear like a soft sprinkle of diamonds over the night. You feel as if the sky is wrapping you in its soft, infinite embrace. As you watch, a gentle glow appears at the horizon. It is the moon slowly rising to watch over you. Its light is calm and protective, illuminating the grass and the trees around you. You feel completely safe under its glow, as if the night itself is cradling you. The stream nearby continues its lullaby. The grass beneath you feels soft, cool, and perfectly supportive. Every part of this place is here to help you rest. The earth holding you, the sky watching over you, the air carrying the soft whisper of nature's goodnight. You take another long, slow breath and imagine that every exhale carries away a little more of the day. Every exhale leaves you lighter, calmer, and more ready for deep rest. A soft drowsiness begins to settle over you, like a gentle fog drifting in from a quiet lake. It swirls around you, softening every thought and every edge. Until all that's left is comfort, warmth, and stillness. You are drifting now, held by the earth. Cradled by the sky, safe under the watch of the moon and stars. And with every breath, sleep comes closer. Your body knows what to do. It remembers how to rest, how to dream, how to let go. You are already floating toward a night of peaceful, restorative sleep. In this quiet moment, give yourself permission to surrender, to let the world fade away. and to drift into the soft, inviting arms of your dreams. Good night. Rest deeply and enjoy tonight's bedtime story. Rainy afternoons were my absolute favorite, the kind that tapped gently on the bark of the tree, filling the forest with a hush. Outside, the world shimmered with droplets, but inside my little hollow, everything was soft and dry. I had tea made from dandelion leaves warming on the stone, my favorite pine cone pillow fluffed just right, and a delightful chaos of old trinkets surrounding me. You see, I'm Acorn. Yes, like the nut. I'm a young squirrel with a stripe down my tail that makes me look like I've sat on a paintbrush. I live in a cozy tree hollow tucked high above the ground. There's a hammock of moss for napping, shelves lined with shiny buttons, smooth pebbles and lost marbles, and an attic so stuffed with bits and baubles I still haven't quite explored it all. And today, well, today was finally attic cleaning day. It started with a rustle. Not the usual kind like wind or shifting twigs, but a whispery, crinkly sound, like old paper brushing against something. Curious, I climbed the ladder with a lantern in one paw and a broom in the other. The attic smelled of cedar and thyme. Dust floated in sunbeams like sleepy dancers. I began poking around, dusting off stacks of postcards I'd never mailed and sorting through buttons shaped like stars and tiny ducklings. Then I heard it again, rustle, scuff, crinkle. I froze, whiskers twitching. "Hello?" I called. "Anyone there or anything?" Nothing answered. I leaned close to the floorboards. One plank, right near the back corner where I stored extra acorn caps, looked a little different, just slightly loose. With a wiggle of my claws, I pried it up. Beneath it, nestled like a secret waiting to be told, was a rolled-up piece of parchment. My paws tingled. It was old, crinkled, and smelled faintly of mushrooms and maple syrup. I unrolled it carefully on a clear patch of floor. The lines were faded but still visible, tiny trees drawn with care, a winding river, even a small compass rose in the corner. But most exciting of all, little X's, dozens of them. Each had a tiny scribble beside it. Under the mushroom ring, near the 3-twig stump, behind the stone that hums. "Oh, acorns and whiskers," I breathed. "It's a map. And not just any map, an acorn map. Now, most squirrels love a good stash, and I'm no different. I keep my favorite snacks in hollow knots, inside boots left behind by hikers, and once even inside a teapot in the woods, though I had to wrestle it away from a very determined mouse. But this was something else entirely. A secret map, clearly drawn by another squirrel long ago, marking hiding spots only someone clever and bold might find. My heart thumped with excitement. Who made this? Why did they hide it? Were the acorns still there? I rushed downstairs, parchment clutched tight, and spread it across my dining table, which was really just a large toadstool I'd brought inside last fall. I traced the landmarks with my paw. I knew some of these places. The mushroom ring was just beyond the dandelion grove and the 3-twig stump. I passed that on my way to the blackberry bush. Could it really be? My tail twitched with anticipation. I just wanted to tidy the attic, maybe dust a few shelves. But now it seemed the rain had washed something far more exciting into my paws. An adventure. I poured myself a thimbleful of tea and nibbled on a sunflower seed as the rain pattered on. The map whispered possibilities. Maybe these weren't just hiding spots. Maybe they were stories. Maybe some squirrel from long ago, with fur like mist and a memory full of riddles, had tucked away acorns like puzzle pieces across the forest. I leaned back and imagined it, a squirrel in a tiny red scarf, darting through the woods by moonlight, burying a special acorn here, another there, marking each one with care. Were they trying to protect something? Or maybe they just had a terrible memory. Like my cousin Chestnut, who once forgot where she'd put her entire winter stash and spent 2 weeks trying to convince a badger to give it back. I sipped my tea thoughtfully. Whatever the story, I was going to find out. I could feel it in my paws. I packed my bag, a sturdy satchel stitched from an old mitten, and tucked the map inside. I added a compass, more for dramatic flair than anything. I already knew the forest by heart. A small notepad, and my lucky walnut carved into the shape of a snail. Then I paused at the door, listening to the steady rain. Tomorrow. The sun was sure to return tomorrow. The ground would be soft and perfect for digging. I could start at the mushroom ring, maybe bring a snack for the journey. Definitely bring extra socks. Wet paws are no fun, even when you're on a mystery mission. I padded over to the window and watched a droplet race its way down the glass. Outside, the world felt quieter than usual, like it too was listening, waiting. The wind tickled the leaves, and far off, a crow cawed once and then fell silent. I held the map up to the light. Some of the notes were smudged. One looked like it said, "Near the root that yawns," and another simply had a drawing of a swirl. What did it all mean? My mind spun with possibilities. What if the acorns were enchanted? What if each one held a memory or a secret message? What if they led to something more? A story tucked beneath the roots of the forest waiting to be read. My cozy hollow no longer felt like the end of a rainy afternoon. It felt like the beginning of a legend. I giggled, tail flicking. "Well then," I said aloud, "I suppose this squirrel has some adventuring to do." And as I nestled into bed that night, the map beside me and the rain still tapping its lullaby against the window, I felt something deep and warm in my chest. Not just curiosity, but a gentle sort of joy. The kind that comes from the rustle of mystery in your attic, and the knowledge that tomorrow holds wonder. and maybe, just maybe, a treasure or two. The rain had passed by morning, leaving the forest washed and shimmering. Droplets clung to every leaf and pine needle like tiny crystal beads, and the air smelled of damp moss, cedar bark, and something new, something waiting. I swung my satchel over my shoulder, made sure the map was tucked safely inside, and scampered out of my cozy hollow into the bright hush of the morning. Sunlight danced through the treetops in golden patches, and I couldn't help but hum a little tune as I bounded down my usual trail. Today wasn't just any adventure. It was the adventure. The one that began with an attic rustle and an old map, and now led me into the woods with my heart thumping like a drum in my chest. According to the faded ink, the first X sat beneath the stone shaped like a heart. I knew the spot. Everyone did. It was one of those forest quirks that seemed almost too perfect to be real, half covered in moss, just off the path near the blackberry brambles, shaped just like a lopsided little heart. As kits, we dared each other to touch it, thinking it held magic or secrets or both. Now I had a reason to go back. I followed the winding path, feeling the map press against my side with every bounce. My striped tail swayed behind me like a flag in the breeze. Birds chirped above, squirrels chattered in distant branches, and somewhere to my left, a chipmunk sneezed twice in a row. I grinned. Even the forest felt lively today. When I reached the heart-shaped stone, the moss glowed green with dew. It sat nestled in a dip beside a cedar trunk, worn smooth by years of wind and weather. I crouched beside it, paws trembling slightly, and brushed away the leaves surrounding its base. The soil was soft from the rain, and I dug gently, careful not to disturb more than necessary. And then I saw it, an acorn, not just any acorn. This one was perfect, smooth and glossy, with a rich golden brown shell and a cap that looked like it had been polished by moonlight. It gleamed as if it had waited just for me. I picked it up slowly, cradling it in my paw. "Hello there," I whispered. There was no mistaking it. This was a treasure. Not because it was rare, though it certainly was, but because of the care and how it had been hidden, tucked safely beneath moss and stone, left for someone someday, someone like me. I sat back on my haunches and looked around the clearing. Sunlight streamed through the leaves in gentle beams, catching in the lingering mist. Everything was quiet except for a robin singing somewhere nearby. I turned the acorn over in my paw and smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. Who had hidden this? Why here? Why so carefully? A strange feeling stirred in my chest, like I'd just been handed a message without any words. This wasn't just about finding a snack. It was about connection. A squirrel from long ago had stood in this very spot, had chosen this stone, this soil, and thought, this is where it should go. And now I was here, paws damp with earth, holding their memory. I placed the acorn gently into a small cloth pouch in my satchel, next to my lucky walnut. Then I reached for my notebook and scribbled down the moment. First acorn found. Heartstone. Feels like a whisper across time. I added a tiny drawing of the stone and a dotted heart next to it. Before leaving, I pressed my paw lightly to the mossy stone. "Thank you," I said, though I wasn't quite sure who I was speaking to. The wind rustled the leaves in reply. As I made my way deeper into the forest, following the trail toward the next X, I couldn't stop glancing at the pouch in my bag. It felt heavier now, but in a good way. Like it held not just a nut, but a story, maybe many. The path curved past a babbling stream, its water clearer than glass. I hopped from stone to stone across it, paused to sip from a shallow bend, then continued into a thicket where mushrooms grew in tight little circles like forest tea parties. All around me the world glowed with the kind of quiet magic you only notice when you walk slowly. A dragonfly zipped past, its wings flashing like emeralds. Two robins danced from branch to branch above, chirping their gossip. I passed a sleepy hedgehog snoring beneath a fern and left a berry near his paw. When I reached a soft patch of grass beneath an old oak, I stopped to rest. I opened the map again. The ink was smudged in places, but I could still make out the next clue. By the 3-twig stump? Another spot I recognized. It would take a while to get there, and maybe I'd need snacks. But I didn't mind. For now, I was still wrapped up in the wonder of the first acorn. What if each one had a meaning? What if they formed a trail, not just of locations, but of thoughts? A diary of sorts, hidden in the forest for someone who knew how to read it. That idea thrilled me. I began to wonder more about the squirrel who'd made this map. What was their name? What made them hide such lovely things? Were they forgetful, playful, lonely? Maybe they were all of those things. Maybe, like me, they just loved stories. And this was their way of writing one, without ink, without paper. Just acorns and places, and the quiet hope that someone would notice. I stretched out on the grass for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun sink into my fur. My tail curled around me like a blanket. I could still feel the smooth weight of the acorn in my satchel. A treasure, a beginning. Then, slowly, I sat up. There was more to find, more to learn, more X's waiting on the map. I tucked the parchment carefully back into my satchel, stood and brushed the twigs from my fur. "All right," I said aloud to the trees. Onward to the 3-twig stump. The breeze stirred, almost as if it agreed. And so I set off again, paws light, heart lighter, one acorn found and many more to go. But more than that, I felt invited, as though I'd joined a story already in progress, written not with words, but with curiosity, patience, and the secret joy of hiding something beautiful just to see who might find it. Whatever lay ahead, I knew this. This was no ordinary treasure hunt. This was a thread connecting squirrel to squirrel, moment to moment, forest to forest. And I, acorn of the striped tail and curious heart, was ready to follow it. wherever it led. By the time I left the 3-twig stump, the sun had climbed high enough to warm the crown of my head as I scampered along a mossy log. The forest buzzed with soft life, leaves fluttering, bees humming, the occasional acorn plonking gently to the ground. My satchel, filled now with 2 gleaming acorns and a notebook of scribbles, bounced at my side like a trusted companion. The next clue on the map said, "Crooked tree stump, where the roots point east." I knew just the one. It sat at the edge of the grove like a sleepy sentinel, its bark gnarled like old knuckles, and its roots curling like they were trying to touch the sunrise. It wasn't far, so I took my time, hopping from stone to stone along the way, following little trails made by beetles and bunnies and perhaps the squirrel who came before me. I began to notice the joy of wandering, not just arriving. My eyes took in the gentle curl of ferns, the golden threads of spider webs between branches, the shimmer of dew still clinging to blades of grass. Everything felt awake, like the whole forest was leaning in to see what I'd find next. When I reached the crooked stump, I paused to admire it. It looked like it was mid-stretch, frozen in a slow twist. I ran my paw along the bark and peeked into a hollow beneath one root. Just as I suspected, another acorn, perfectly preserved. I gasped quietly. This one was darker, with a swirl carved into its shell. Someone had taken the time to decorate it. I turned it over and over in my paw, feeling something between wonder and warmth rise up in me. Another piece of the puzzle. Another whisper from a squirrel long gone, but not quite forgotten. Before I tucked it away, I sat down with my notebook and copied the swirl. Then I added something new, a sketch of the stump, and beneath it, shared with the sun, rooted in direction. It felt right to write something back. As I stood and slung my satchel over my shoulder again, I heard a soft rustle in the ferns. I turned just in time to see a delicate head peek out, long ears, gentle eyes, and the softest tawny fur. It was Fern, the young deer who liked to nap near the blackberry patch. "Acorn?" she said, blinking. "What are you doing all the way out here?" "Oh, Fern!" I grinned, tail flicking. "I'm on a treasure hunt, of sorts." Fern stepped out fully, careful not to brush the more ticklish ferns. "Treasure?" I opened my pouch and showed her the latest acorn. She tilted her head. "It's beautiful. What makes it special?" "Someone hid it a long time ago," I said softly, "and now I'm finding them. But it's more than just the acorns. It's like I'm learning a story without words." Fern's ears twitched. "That sounds lovely." "Would you like one?" I asked without thinking. She blinked. "One of your acorns?" I smiled and pulled out the very first I'd found, the one from under the heart-shaped stone. "I think it's meant to be shared." Fern hesitated, then took it gently in her mouth and set it in the soft grass beside her hooves. "I'll keep it safe," she said with a warm nod. "And remember this moment." I waved goodbye and continued down the path with a little more spring in my step. Next stop, the bubbling creek. The journey there took longer, winding past blackberry tangles and over a small rise where the breeze always smelled like mint. I paused on a flat rock to sip from my canteen and gaze at the map. My paws were smudged with dirt and ink, and I couldn't have been happier. When I reached the creek, its music met me before the sight of it. The water danced over stones like it had somewhere to be, even if that somewhere was just more creek. I followed it downstream until I spotted the note's landmark. Flat stone, center of the curve. There it was, a wide stone right where the creek curved like a smile. I crouched beside it and reached under the lip of the rock, cold water soaking my fur, and felt something round and smooth. Another acorn. This one had tiny nicks along its cap, like it had weathered a journey. I held it close for a moment and smiled. That's when I heard the bark. "Acorn! Hey! Acorn!" Bramble, the excitable old forest dog, came trotting up the bank, his tongue lolling and ears flopping wildly. His paws splashed through the shallow water like he hadn't a care in the world. "I thought that was your tail I saw," he said. "What are you doing out here, squirrel friend?" "Acorn hunt," I said proudly. "Acorn hunt?" he said, panting happily. "I've sniffed a lot of acorns in my day, but never hunted for them." "Not just any acorns," I said, handing him the one I'd just found. "They're hidden, on purpose, by someone with a story to tell." Bramble sniffed it carefully. "Smells like patience and pine." I laughed. "You want to keep it?" Bramble's eyes went wide. "Really?" "Absolutely." He sat right down in the middle of the creek, tail splashing, and tucked the acorn gently under one paw like it was a prized bone. "I'm gonna bury it behind my favorite tree, make it part of my story." And I believed him. I waved as I left the creek behind, following the map's next clue. Under the fern that hums with bees. It wasn't hard to find. The fern stood tall and proud in a clearing where bees lazily floated from blossom to blossom, their hum like a lullaby. I knelt beside it and didn't even have to dig. The acorn was nestled right at the base, as if resting. Before I could reach for it, a tiny voice squeaked, "You're not going to eat it, are you?" I blinked. A small mouse, gray and round with wide eyes, peeked out from under a leaf. "Because if you are, I'd suggest roasting it first. Tastes better that way." I chuckled. "No, I'm not going to eat it. I'm collecting them. They're part of a treasure map." "Really?" she said, climbing onto a twig with practiced grace. "I'm Thimble." "Acorn," I said, holding out a paw. We shook. I showed her the map, and her eyes grew bigger with each X. "You're finding all of these?" she asked, "one by one? And giving some away, too." She leaned in. "That's kind of wonderful." I offered her the bee fern acorn. She gasped. "You sure?" I nodded. "Think of it as a traveling memory, yours now." Thimble took it like it was made of starlight. "I'll hide one of my own someday," she said softly. And that's when I felt it. The shift. This wasn't just a journey anymore. It wasn't just me following faded marks on a map. It was something bigger, quieter, and kinder. I wasn't just collecting. I was connecting. Each acorn was a spark. Each spark became a story. And as I sketched new hiding spots in my notebook, behind a root shaped like a wishbone, beneath a bench of moss where I napped once, I realized something else. I wasn't just finding acorns. I was planting meaning, leaving kindness, turning the forest into a living, breathing memory bank. Maybe that's what the original mapmaker had done too. Not to hoard or keep, but to remind future paws to look, to wonder, to give. I looked out across the trees, the sun dipping low behind the canopy. A gentle breeze stirred, and the bees hummed their sleepy songs. "I get it now," I whispered to the wind. "It's not just about treasure. It's about the trail and the hearts we meet along the way." The forest grew quieter the deeper I went. The sun filtered through the canopy in long, gentle shafts, the leaves above whispering like they knew a secret. I followed a narrow deer trail that wound between tall ferns and past a cluster of mushrooms shaped like tiny parasols. My satchel rested snug against my side, its fabric soft with use and its contents warm with meaning. This was the last marked X on the map, the furthest one. It sat near the edge of the parchment, sketched in faint ink with a tiny swirl and a scribbled note. "Glade of stillness. Follow the sound of hush." It took longer than expected to find. There were no clear signs, just a feeling. The trees here stood taller, older, their trunks thick with moss and memories. I moved slowly, listening for that hush. No birds chirped, no bees buzzed. Just the soft sound of my own breath and the rustle of my paws brushing fallen leaves. Then I stepped through a thicket and stopped. The glade opened before me like a secret exhale. It was round, perfectly so, with grass like velvet and sunlight that felt softer somehow, diffused, golden, almost sleepy. A single stump sat in the center, and around it, leaves lay scattered in a way that didn't feel random. It looked intentional, like a message whispered through branches and time. I stepped forward, heart fluttering, and knelt beside the stump. I brushed away a few of the leaves, orange, red, golden, and saw something hidden beneath. A box. Small, wooden, smoothed with age and laced with tiny carvings of vines and acorns. My breath caught. I reached out and lifted the lid with both paws. Inside wasn't an acorn this time. It was a folded piece of parchment, cream-colored and worn at the edges. I unfolded it carefully. The handwriting was delicate and neat, slightly faded but still clear. "To the squirrel who finds this, thank you for continuing the search." That was all. No name, no instructions, just a sentence that felt like an embrace. I sat back, holding the note in my lap, and let it settle into me like morning light. For a long time, I didn't move. The wind stirred the leaves gently, like it too was reading over my shoulder. I felt something shift in my chest, something quiet and powerful. This wasn't just the end of a treasure hunt. It was the closing of a circle, a silent nod from one curious heart to another across seasons, maybe even years. I wasn't the first, and I wouldn't be the last. I smiled softly and looked up through the treetops. The breeze made the branches sway, scattering a few more leaves down into the glade. I caught one midair, a golden one, and tucked it into my notebook, right beside my sketches of the earlier clues. Then I looked at the map. The original one was nearly worn through now, the edges frayed, the ink smeared from dew and fingerprints. But I could still see every X. I traced them with a claw and thought of each acorn, each hiding spot, each friend I'd met along the way, fern with her gentle steps, bramble splashing in the creek, thimble with her eager eyes and clever paws. And then I thought of the places I'd marked since, those unplanned, unexpected spots where kindness had bloomed. I pulled out my pencil and my sketchbook, and I began to draw, not just the old spots from the original map, but new ones. Places I'd found along the way that now felt important. The stone bench where Bramble buried his gifted acorn. The shady nook where Thimble whispered she'd leave one someday, too. The curve in the creek where sunlight always hit just right at noon. The mossy rise where I'd napped and dreamed of swirling acorn shells. I labeled each one with a small symbol, just like the original map had done. Little hearts, leaves, spirals, suns. And then I added a message in my own scrawly script right at the top of the page. To the next wanderer, there's always more to find and more to give. It felt right. Not a finish, but a continuation. I carefully placed the original note back in the wooden box, and then, after a moment's thought, added one of my own. A tiny folded square with a sketch of me holding an acorn and the words, "You're not alone, the story keeps going." I closed the lid and tucked the box back beneath the leaves, just where I found it. Then I stood, brushing the soil from my fur, and took one long last look at the glade. "Thank you," I whispered silently, to the squirrel who came before me, to the forest, to the hush that guided me here. Then I turned and left, walking not with a map, but with memory. As I stepped back onto the trail, I noticed the sun had shifted. Evening was creeping in, spilling gold and blue across the forest floor. I took the long way home, letting the journey stretch. Along the way, I passed a curious rabbit, a crow preening on a low branch, and a family of chipmunks chattering about acorn storage. I waved at each of them and, from time to time, reached into my satchel and gently placed an acorn beneath a root, or beside a stone, or tucked inside a hollow log. Not ones I'd found, ones I'd brought with me, smooth, whole, waiting. Later, when I finally returned to my cozy hollow, the sky was streaked with dusk and the air was cool with promise. I lit a tiny lantern and hung it near my window, the flicker casting dancing shadows over the walls. I laid out my new map on the floor. It looked different than the first, not just because it was fresh and detailed, but because it invited. It welcomed. It was a living story. And somewhere, someday, maybe another squirrel with a stripe down their tail, or a completely different creature altogether, would find it, just as I had. Maybe they'd feel the same flutter of curiosity, the same joy of discovery, the same quiet awe of knowing they weren't alone. Maybe they'd add to it, too. I placed the map on my shelf between a pine cone and a carved pebble, then settled into my leaf-lined bed. My body was tired, but my spirit felt wide awake. I curled my tail around me, closed my eyes, and listened to the forest breathing outside. Rustling, dreaming, remembering. The search never really ends, I realized, and that's the beauty of it. The next morning, I awoke with the golden hush of dawn spilling through my round window. A few dandelion seeds floated lazily in the breeze outside, drifting like wandering thoughts. I stretched, yawned, and felt that quiet warmth still glowing in my chest, like I'd swallowed a sunbeam the day before and it hadn't quite left me yet. Today wasn't for wandering. Today was for remembering. I climbed up into my attic nook, where the light touched everything in soft angles, and laid out a fresh scroll across my little table, just beside my basket of moss-cushioned marbles and my pine-cone inkwell. The parchment was thick and clean, full of space and promise. It smelled faintly of cedar and adventure. And then I began to draw. Not just any map. My map. The first line I traced was the winding trail from my tree hollow to the heart-shaped stone. I marked it carefully, pressing my paw pad into the ink and leaving a neat little star beside it. Star equals sign special memory. The moment I'd found the first acorn, the hush of discovery, the feeling of being part of something quietly magical. Next came the crooked tree stump. I sketched its twisting roots, curling eastward like dancers frozen mid-step. Beside it I placed a small leaf. Leaf equals sign shared gift. The swirl-carved acorn I'd passed on, the look in Fern's eyes, the joy of giving something beautiful away. At the bubbling creek, I drew the wide, flat stone where the water sang. A laughing paw print joined it. Paw print equals sign a friend helped. Bramble, tail wagging, paws splashing, burying that acorn like it held the world's last wish. That memory would always make me smile. The bee fern glade was next, drawn in soft curls and buzzing shapes. Another leaf, sweet thimble, clutching her gifted acorn like a whisper of belonging. I filled in more. The mossy rise, the hollowed-out bench, the sun-drenched stump where I sat and read that simple, powerful note. To the squirrel who finds this, thank you for continuing the search. That spot got a star, and a little heart too, because some things can't be boxed in by symbols alone. Before I knew it, hours had passed. My scroll was speckled with marks, crisscrossing paths. little doodles in the margins, and tiny notes like, "Leave a gift here when the moon is full," "Our great napping moss," "Thimble's new hiding spot," "Shh." I realized something as I drew. This wasn't just a map of places. It was a map of moments, of tiny kindnesses, quiet joys, invisible threads between creatures and days and thoughts. And the more I mapped, the more I remembered. The more I remembered, the more I smiled. Later that day, just as I was labeling a bend in the path with a curled feather symbol for surprise laughter, I heard a gentle tap on my hollow's bark. I peered out and spotted a young chipmunk blinking up at me, holding a leaf in his tiny paws like it was official business. "Are you Acorn?" he asked shyly. "That's me," I said, scurrying down to meet him. I heard, there's a map? And maybe clues?" He looked around nervously. "I want to try. I want to find something too." I blinked, then beamed. "Well," I said, reaching into my satchel, "you've come to the right squirrel." I handed him a small slip of parchment, hand-drawn and folded like a secret. On it was a single clue. "Under the stone that feels warm at dusk." His eyes lit up. He gripped the paper with reverence. "Thank you," he squeaked, and zipped off into the woods like his feet couldn't wait another second. Not long after, a hedgehog appeared. Then a robin. Then 3 field mice who shared one acorn between them like a picnic basket. Each one came looking for something, a moment, a mystery, a feeling they couldn't quite name but wanted to. I gave each of them a different clue, a different spot, a different beginning. Some I guided gently. Others I simply winked at and let go. My hollow, once filled with trinkets and dust and half-drawn maps, became a kind of tiny way station. Not for directions, really, but for encouragement, for stories waiting to be discovered again. One evening, Fern returned with her acorn still cradled in a pouch of woven grass. "I added a ribbon," she said. "I'm going to leave it somewhere, for someone who needs it." My heart thudded softly. Thimble left a note in my windowsill. Left my first hidden acorn, under the mushroom shaped like a smile. Hope someone finds it. Hope they feel seen. Even Bramble howled up the hill one night. "Acorn, I think I'm going to draw a map of smells. You know the best sniffs. I'll bring you a copy." The forest changed, not in sound or shape, but in feeling. It felt woven, like each acorn, each clue, each whisper of discovery had stitched something new into the leaves. A quiet game, a secret kindness, a shared understanding. I wasn't the only treasure seeker anymore. I wasn't the only treasure giver. One crisp morning, when the breeze smelled of cinnamon and the mushrooms had turned dark with dew, I rolled up my finished map. It was long now. So long it needed 2 scrolls. Symbols danced across every inch. Lines curved like stories. Empty spaces waited for the next dreamer's marks. I tied it with a piece of twine. Nothing fancy, just firm and warm and ready. Then I took a slow walk through the woods, past every place I'd marked, past every memory and moment. I paused at each one and smiled, tail flicking gently behind me. And when I reached the old hollow log near the glade of stillness, I knelt down. I brushed away the leaves and tucked the map inside, not too hidden, not too obvious, just waiting, like a breath between sentences. For the curious, I whispered, for the gentle, for the next pause, ready to walk a little slower, look a little closer, and maybe leave a gift behind. I stood, paws muddy, eyes misty, heart full. Then I walked home, lighter somehow. That night I lit my lantern and sat by the window. Stars blinked above the trees. The wind carried laughter from somewhere far away. A chipmunk, maybe, or a mouse discovering something beneath a stone. I closed my eyes and smiled. The new map had begun, and the forest would never be quite the same again. And that ends tonight's meditation. You're welcome to stay for a bit longer if you like. Have a beautiful night. Until next time.